Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got a story sent to me by quite a few people, including David. Thank you very much. The story is picked up widely by the press here in America, but a lot of the headlines didn't let you know it actually happened in China. So the story actually happened in China where the kid scratched up the cars on the car lot. And David sent me the story. Thank you very much. I went and tracked the story down and found a source in Australia. It was one of the earliest places to report the story. Chinese dad sued after toddler scratches 10 brand new Audis in a showroom. Yeah, a lot of people made mistakes here. A couple have been left with a hefty bill after their toddler scratched pictures into the paintwork of 10 brand new Audi cars in one go while visiting a posh car dealership. You'll notice the use of the Australian slang there. The shocked parents later discovered that their tot had taken a stone and drawn into the paint of 10 new cars, including an Audi Q8 valued at nearly 41,000 Australian dollars during the visit back in November. The Chinese couple had accompanied a friend to the dealership, bringing a 3-year-old along for the ride. So we're not even sure if these people were car shopping or if it was the people they were with that were car shopping. But the kid was there, car scratching. According to Linghui People's Court, the dealership sued the father, identified as Mr. Zhao, for an initial sum of roughly 41,000 Australian. Of course, they were doing this in Chinese currency, but these are translated into Australian figures just to confuse us even more. And they said that was the figure estimated to be the cost of repairing the paint on these cars and could increase based on further evaluation of the damage done. The business argued that the vehicles could not be sold as new cars once they had repainted them. Note to self, if you are a car dealer in America, because many car dealers in America would just buff those out as best they could and sell them as new. But in China, at least apparently, they argue that these cars would be repainted and then sold not as new. They said if they did so, they could be sued for false advertising and be made to compensate 3 times the purchase price if found guilty of the offense. So it sounds like China's got some pretty good consumer protection laws, or at least this dealership was making the argument that they did. They said that if they had fixed these vehicles, they'd have to sell them as used at significant markdowns. So again, keep in mind that in America, what defines a new car versus a used car will vary from state to state. In many states, a new car is any car that's never been titled yet to a consumer. You know, so there's the certificate of origin, and then the first titled owner becomes the owner of the new car, and then anybody beyond that becomes the owner of a used car. Now, vehicles that are damaged and repaired and sold can still be sold as new. The only question is, do you have to disclose the damage or the repairs or not? Some states say you have to. Some states say you don't have to. Varies wildly from state to state. Another story altogether. The court in China said on December 3rd that Zhao had rejected the settlement demand, but had reached another settlement where apparently the parties had agreed to settle the case for $14,000 Australian. So that's the damage to 10 cars by a 3-year-old child who had taken something and scratched up the paintwork on 10 brand new Audis before being stopped by presumably critics of some sort. But again, like I said, it happened in China, so all bets are off as to how the laws apply. Now, I know people are going to say, Steve, what if that happened in America? You go to a dealership and your kid, you lose track for just a split second, goes over and damages a car. Well, here's the problem. That kid's yours, right? So that responsibility would fall on you. Now, there are going to be people out there and say, Steve, what about insurance? Don't these dealerships have insurance to cover them for that? And insurance does never relieve you of liability. All insurance does is guarantees that somebody's going to get paid for the damages. But let's suppose, and I'm going to make up a hypothetical here. I'm going to remove it from the car dealership scenario just so people can understand it better. Let's suppose you own a home and you put insurance on the home that covers it against everything, including fire. Okay? And the home burns down and you file a claim with your insurance company. Your insurance company pays the claim. And then the insurance company figures out the reason your home burned down, it was somebody else's fault. They can then go sue that person to seek to recover the money they paid to you to pay the claim. Okay? So that's a common thing in the insurance industry. The insurance company can seek to get their money back from the responsible party to pay themselves back for what they paid somebody else who was injured by the actions of the responsible party. And that kind of action is going to change from state to state also. But just because there's insurance doesn't mean that somebody gets off the hook for doing what they did. So little kid gets on the lot, damages a bunch of cars. That little kid's liable. But of course, little kids aren't liable. Their parents are. So the parents are liable. And so the dealership may have insurance that covers this. The insurance company might cut a check. The insurance company might then come and sue the parents of the little child. It happens. So, these things do happen that way. I seem to recall a story out of the news last few months, maybe the last year or so, where a little kid is running around in a museum and knocked over something, or I think he actually tried to hug something that wasn't designed to be hugged. And he damaged it, and it was a piece of artwork that somebody said was worth 6 figures or more. And there was a big fight over who was going to pay for the damage to the artwork. And I seem to recall at one point the parent saying, well, hey, what do you expect a kid to be doing in a museum? And of course, everyone else is saying, well, not running loose and knocking stuff over. So, yeah, if you bring your kid someplace, it's pretty much on you to watch out for your kid. Make sure your kid doesn't do things like scratch up cars. And so it's not clear from the news story here what the child did, other than it did say that she used a stone and had scratched and drawn into the paint of 10 cars. So by using the word stone, I assume that means a rock of some sort, scratching the paint, and of course a rock in someone's hand could of course scratch and draw, and we've seen kids do that with writing utensils on walls, for instance. Bathroom walls are famous for that. Bad poetry too. But, so scratching up the paint on the side of a car, it's certainly within the capabilities of a small child. And that's, of course, something that the parents should be aware of and very well could be liable for. At least that's how it happened in China, and that's how it could happen here. So again, thanks for the story. It happened in China. Questions, comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. As if.